Welcome to the Red Dice Diaries. This podcast is a rambling journey through the wonderful world of RPGs from the viewpoint of a long-time GM and player. The music at the start of this podcast was Nightmare by Alexander Nakarada and is used under Creative Commons license. Okay, so in this episode of the Red Dice Diaries podcast, I'm going to talk a little bit about a game that I'm particularly fond of. It's a game called Tremulus. It's been out for a while, and it's basically a powered by the apocalypse sort of Cthulhu Mythos style of game. Now, I've been a fan of the Cthulhu Mythos and various related fiction for quite some time. I really love that whole sort of cosmic horror vibe, and I know a lot of people aren't keen on it because they say, oh well, what's the point in playing in a game when you know that your character's either going to go mad or die before the end of it. But I think part of the point of those sort of games is actually seeing how well you can portray your character during the time they do have, as well as the challenge of portraying the character as they're descending into madness, or they're selling their lives to buy their companions time to escape, or whatever the case may be. And I'm talking about this now because I've run a few Tremulus games, and I played in a game the other night run by Johannes Pavola that I particularly enjoyed. It was a one-shot where myself, my wife, and a friend of mine, Dave, were playing sort of a misfit crew of a 60s Antarctic expedition. We were sent ostensibly to find some geographical readings in the area, but actually we were trying to find out whether the Russian forces in the area had any sort of military agenda there. And due to some sort of public spectacle or some sort of public PR thing, we were following a Russian icebreaker ship. And the storyline inevitably got weirder as we found ourselves on this strange island in the Antarctic where there was a custom-built medieval castle created by an ancient French sorcerer who'd been possessed by this strange entity that was folding time and space. It was a great game. Johannes ran it really well. We all had a great time. One of the things that I think was great about the game is it really emphasized the strengths of Tremulus, which is that it's a very easy game to pick up and play for one-shots. And that's also a strength of Powered by the Apocalypse in general. Essentially in Tremulus, as in other PBTA games, your character sheet is 2 pages. You get a series of basic moves, which basically just tell you what you need to roll for any action you're going to undertake. And that's not the case that it restricts you in any way. Like all other role-playing games, you say what you want to do, and then you see if any of the moves are applicable. So, for instance, one of the basic moves is resort to violence, and you roll 2d6 and add your might to it. As with all Power of the Apocalypse games, from your final roll, a result of 6 or less is a failure, or the GM says what happens. A result of 7 to 9 is a partial or minor success, and a result of 10 plus is like a complete or outstanding success. So if you're resorting to violence, on a 7 to 9 roll, you get to choose 2 options from the following list. You can take definite hold of your opponent, you suffer little harm as you're engaged with the opponent, you inflict terrible harm on them, or you impress, dismay, or frighten your enemy. Now, if you get 7 to 9, you can only choose 2 of those options. Now, obviously, normally you'd be trying to avoid taking harm yourself. If you get a 10 plus, you can choose 3 of those options. And the other moves follow similar things. There's moves for convincing people, helping or hindering your allies, poking around to search for clues, etc., puzzling things out, reading people, and threatening people. And obviously, if you did come up with something that wasn't covered by these quite general moves, all the GM has to do is pick one of the 5 stats: reason, passion, might, luck, or affinity, get you to roll 2d6, add your stat to it, and then base the results on the 6, 7 to 9, and 10 plus results. Creating a character is easy. You pick a few options to determine your appearance. You pick a couple of special moves that your character has. I was playing the ship's cook in the game, and I picked a couple of moves. One was called All the Comforts of Home, which is whenever you set up a campsite and a stove, it's considered safe and warm after you've cooked a meal there. And I picked Dexterous, which means you're good with your hands, and you gain a +1 to rolls where you're using your manual dexterity. In addition to this, there were some other moves like Nourish the Body and Nourish the Soul, where effectively you can cook meals as the cook, which either help people recover from damage quicker or help sort of reinforce a sense of self and lessen the sanity loss from facing the enemies of the mythos. Your gear is selected in a similar way. You have a number of options. You just tick which ones you want, and within about 5 minutes you can be ready to play. I think it's a really great game for a quick one shot. In particular, I've not played any campaigns of it, so I don't know how well it'd work for that, but I think compared to some of the other Mythos games I've looked at, where you spend a lot of time creating your characters only for them to go insane, which I do think somehow contributes to the feelings people have that it's maybe not worth getting into a Mythos game, that Tremulus sort of lessens that, because you can really quickly put together a character, but they're still intriguing characters in their own rights with a lot of personality. It's not the slickest version of Powered by the Apocalypse I've seen by any means, but it is great for quick games. And also you can get play sets for it. There's like an Ebon Eves play set, which is a spooky American town. There's a Journeys play set and a couple of others where basically the players pick a few options to determine what they've heard about the place they're going to, and a few more options to determine what weird shit they've heard about going down there. And based on that, the GM gets a 3-letter code for each of them, and that helps determine what the main sort of theme of the game is. So it's really useful as an idea generator for the GM. And also it means that even if you've just got the one play set, as long as different choices are made and there's loads and loads of combinations, you can reuse that play set over and over again. So if you like the Mythos and Cthulhu Mythos, but you want something a little bit quicker, a little bit punchier, with a very simple rule system where you only need 2d6 for all of the rolls you'll be making, grab a hold of a copy of Tremulus. It's available on Drive-Thru RPG, and give it a go. I'm sure you won't be disappointed. So until I see you next time, take care, and whatever you're playing, have fun.